Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. So, Chrishauna, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I've been really excited to talk to you because you have a lot going on. You are definitely a creative woman, but I want to go back to the beginning of your story and tell us where you're from and what brought you to Paris.
Okay. It always feels like lifetimes ago, really. Because so many things have happened. But okay, we'll just start from the beginning of my journey to Paris. I think is probably the best one because there's so many things. Well, I was born in Vegas, moved to Los Angeles when I was 19, and then when I was in my late 20s, I started making fashion films. Fashion films are essentially like fashion commercials, except instead of being 30 seconds long, they're 3 minutes or so. You know, it's a whole storyline based around a designer.
Oh, fun.
Um, and you know, when my producing partner at the time and I started making these fashion films, you know, we started submitting them to several different fashion film festivals and getting a little bit of traction. I think at the time we had like say 21 nominations, 3 wins for like several films that we had made. And then there was just one random day that we got a call that one of our films was actually going to debut at the Pompidou.
Wow.
At a Shaded View of Fashion Film Festival, which is actually still happening, apparently. So this is back in 2015. So what ends up happening is I come to Paris for the first time, and it was just this really magical time. There were a lot of like fashion I don't know who moguls are. I don't know. There was I don't want to name
Icons.
there were some big people in fashion there. We'll put it that way. It was a great introduction.
Definitely. I like the word icons, all the fashion icons are there.
There we go. So a lot of fashion icons there. And it was a really beautiful introduction to Paris. And I just kind of fell in love with the city is what happened. I fell in love with the city. I think it was one of those things where I'd also met somebody at the time that was kind of pushing for me to, you know, try it out. You know, I was already doing makeup at the time and hair, and then I was also producing fashion films. So it just kind of seemed like a natural transition, you know, because this is the center of fashion. Whereas LA is great, but it's kind of more of a center for culture rather than a center for fashion. So it's different.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of I was really contemplating it. I think at the time I was just turning 30, or I just turned 30, and I thought to myself, I was like, well, I could stay where I'm at and do the exact same thing for the next forever, you know? Or I can try living in a different country, which I'd never done before. Simultaneously, and unfortunately, my father had actually passed away within a month of me getting back from Paris, back to LA.
Oh, wow.
And at that moment, I remember looking through all of his, it was very unexpected. And I was looking through all of his papers and notes and things like that. And what stood out to me the most was the fact that he had something that he was going to do next Thursday on his planner. I think it was like, you know, it was something like he was going to take his car in. And so it was very menial. It wasn't anything super,
Yeah.
but it really hit me that it was like everybody who's ever passed away has had something that they were going to do tomorrow, next week, you know, a year from now, 6 months from now, and it really kind of, put a fire under my bum. I'm going to refrain from cussing. Put a fire under my bum, uh, to just kind of like go for it, He didn't, it was unexpected, so there was no life insurance policy, but he left me his car, or at least his car was there, and I ended up getting it. And
Yeah.
and so I just sold it. I sold it for like, I think I sold it for a couple grand, like it's like 6 grand. I sold the car for. And then I went on the expat website, I saw the expat group on Facebook, and I just was like, well, hope this isn't a scam, and like found some woman who was looking for a roommate, and was,
Wow.
I'm gonna just send you money and hope and just trust the universe that you're not that I'll have a place to stay.
Oh my gosh. And so she did exist.
She did exist. I ended up. I ended up. My kind of first time, because I've done this little journey several times, more permanently in the last few years. But I had done this journey sort of several times. But this time, I just I just sent her the money and was just like, YOLO. I hope this exists. And within 6 months of going back to LA, I just took my first little time in Paris to kind of acclimate to living in a different country, which I had never done before. So that's kind of the story of my arrival.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot going on, Like it was very brave of you to just go for it, especially when you're dealing with grief and all that. And I mean, I'm sure your father would have been supportive and be like, yes, go do it. And maybe it was even more of a wake-up call for you, like, life is short. Let's just do what we want to do.
Well, it was a super wake up call, because it's just kind of like, I mean, time is, I've unfortunately experienced, quite a few deaths, and things like that in my life. And I think when it's very, I don't want to be dreary, but like, I think when you start looking at things in terms of, this time isn't promised to you, you know you kind of just have to go for things. This is life. This life is supposed to be experienced, and it's like a lot of times we're trying to keep ourselves really safe, and it's like, safe from what? you know
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I think that's like a great way to think of it. Is like, yeah, you only have so much time. And when you think of it from that perspective, it makes you a little braver too. Because like you said, we're always worried about what if this doesn't work, or what if I lose this or that. And it's like, you just have to go for it and the net will appear. It sounds like that's what happened with you in this
Yeah,
Facebook group.
yeah. I would. Well, and I also thought to myself, I was like, okay, things don't. Okay, so if things don't work out, like my backup plan is I move back to Los Angeles and work in the industry like I've been doing. Like, okay, like,
Yeah,
you know, it's not.
that's okay too. Yeah.
Don't cry for me, Argentina. So
So
yeah.
yeah, and so you've worked as an actress, a painter, a model, a singer, a photographer, a filmmaker, a makeup artist. I mean, you are the complete Renaissance woman, creative, doing all the things. And
Yeah.
more recently, you're focusing on music. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I have been making music. I've been making music since I was in my mid 20s. And I really, I think there was a bit of imposter syndrome with that, because I have such a high respect for music and for musicians. And I think that, what ended up happening is that I just kind of like, I started off as a poet when I was in my teens, and then I started writing my own songs, and then I was like, well, what if we start putting songs together, and then it kind of built from there, and anyway, leading up to now, which is just like, over 12 years later, during lockdown, I released a couple songs on Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, wherever you like to listen to stuff. So it's Carbon Block under the name Carbon Block. CARBONBLOC. And so I released a couple songs recently. Um, and I think this is kind of, I think I want to share this because I think it's important for other creatives. Not, not really tooting my own horn as much, but so basically I make and compose and produce a lot of stuff, and just kind of what I call bedroom stuff. It's like you're in a bedroom, you're just kind of like, oh, let me put some sounds together. Not actually play an instrument. So I just kind of like working with samples and just kind of putting things together like a puzzle piece.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Combining sounds.
Just combining sounds, exactly. And so I was like, well, I have all this stuff that I make, and there's this person, I think her name is Inspired to Write on Instagram. She's really brilliant, actually, and she has a lot of really amazing little quotes that she says every day. And it was like, well, I think one of them was like, just put your stuff out there. Just really just put your stuff out there. And I was like, you know what? She's right. So I just start taking all of this, not produced, not like brilliantly produced, not mastered, not brilliantly produced, not some of it not even finished stuff. And I just kind of start putting it out there. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna start putting out some of my songs, like songwriting, instead of just keeping them to myself. I'm just gonna put them out.
Yeah.
And funny enough, while I was doing that, one of the reels that I had posted that had my music, my sound that I had made, reached the attention of somebody who was like, wow, I really like your voice, and really want to work with you. And so um, I think we don't have a specific time yet, but I know I'll be in studio in December. And we have a Afro House song coming out,
Nice.
that I actually wrote. I'd actually written this. I wanted to try out Afro House, is what happened, and just so happened it was like the stars aligned. You know, the stars aligned. This person happens to be an Afro House producer working with some major Afro House people, um, and I was like, it's really funny that you would ask me about this. I was like, because I just had this song I wrote like 2 months ago. Just trying it out,
I love it. You manifested it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess I manifested it, but I was like, I think I've always really just kind of put myself out there, and I'm not really, the numbers are nice when they happen, but like I've always just been an artist. I think sometimes people measure being an artist with the success of how much money they make or how many followers they have. And I don't think that's true personally at all. I think the endurance you have to continue to be an artist, because it's hard, it's really difficult. I think the endurance itself proves, and the fact that you keep trying proves that you are successful, that you are actually an artist. So that's my view of it.
I like that a lot. And talk a little bit about some of the obstacles of being an artist. I mean, you're just constantly trying to come up with new stuff. You're trying to pay your rent. You're trying to, like, I like what you said about numbers too, because, with social media, things have gotten really strange. Like, talk a
Right.
little bit about some of those obstacles.
Well, okay. there there's a plethora. There's a plethora. Um it's the great things take time element. It's the um not everyone's going to like what you do, or people are going to want to pigeonhole you in certain ways in which you may not be, and you have to struggle with your identity and other people's perception, but then realizing in some ways that there's no real oligarch out there who's saying you have to be this particular person, and so you can kind of you're free to be whoever you want, and create any way you'd like to, you know and I think that there's a big struggle between being authentic, whatever your version of authentic is, and trying to fit in, and also trying to make money from the thing that you're trying to do. Oftentimes, especially, I can even talk about my makeup career. There are so many creative things I would have loved to do, as a makeup artist, but you don't get paid for the massively creative things. You get paid,
Yeah.
for bridal makeup, or you get paid for, basic beauty makeup and things like that. There's a rare occasion that that you have to be able to, work on something really, really cool and exciting. But then it's also some of the most cool and exciting things that you probably will ever do. You probably won't get paid as much for.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So like, how do you find that balance and like still being a creative and still doing the things you want to do, even when you can't make money at it? Sometimes you just like carve out those little pieces of time.
Well, you know what it is? I think that in some ways, being an artist has to be just as, I think as an artist, for me personally, being an artist is as important as everything else. It's important as breathing, it's important as sleeping. If I can't create, and creating for me has nothing to do with money. I spend, this is why I have so many things underneath my belt, is because I've always been someone who just created. I'm just a creator at the end of the day, and so even if I'm not making money at it, I'm painting, or I'm, composing songs and things like that. And if you make money from it, fantastic. you know if you put out music and, it gets picked up by a major record label or something like that, that's fantastic. But if you also release music, well, and this is how I felt, if you release music and, you're the people that you respect listen to it and love it and buy your stuff, even if it's like one or two people, I feel like that in itself is something to be celebrated. I think that a lot of times in this sort of capitalistic, I know I'm saying, like, it sounds like a cliche, but like in this capitalistic view of everything, we're basing it on the bottom line. We're basing it on numbers. Yes, I know we have to live, but you also have to live your truth at the same time. And so that's something that you kind of have to fight for. And it's not easy. And a lot of people end up giving up. And they would be very fair to do so. Like, it's
Yeah,
hard.
it's hard. Exactly.
But
Yeah. And you have to show up and not even get rewarded in the way that most people find is what you're supposed to be rewarded as, is like financial gain or celebrity or whatever. But you're doing it for the reason of just simply doing it. And that's like where the magic lies.
that's where the magic lies. And I think it's living with your heart. I mean, there's this, I was actually listening to a podcast earlier about Marshmello. It's like a big DJ. And, they're Grammy award winning, and they make this kind of basic EDM music. But then also I found out that they're actually just not one person. It's like a corporation of people who like found some sort of like way of like, capitalizing on what everybody liked and stuff like that. It's a product, and so it kind of takes the, like, where people are, again, when people are thinking about the bottom line, you have to remember there's um a lot of inauthenticity that sort of comes with that. And it's like, if you're okay with that, then fine, if that's how you want to go. But the more authentic you are, the more obstacles that you're going to face, because that's just how the world is. You have to be good with that, but realize that the bigger medicine, and this is kind of in my own spiritual kind of beliefs, the bigger medicine, the thing that cures the world in some ways. It's like the world is a little bit less bright without people who have that kind of heart, regardless of how much they struggle, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful way of putting it, is that, the people that show up and use their gifts to help others and to just enjoy their lives. It's like we need that more than ever with everything going on right now.
Exactly. And those sort of healers, they're usually wounded. Like, they're usually
Yeah.
massively wounded, you know? But it's like, but you need those people.
Yeah, we all do. We need the people that are not afraid to show up and live their passions. We also need doctors and lawyers and firemen, but it's nice to see people being inspiring too and living out their creative dreams.
but if you just had people who, you know, everything was, you know, everything was about this bottom line sort of like capitalistic thing, and you know, and nobody really kind of went in it with a lot of heart, regardless to, you know, rain, hail, storms, whatever, you know, then yeah, like I said, the world would be just like a really bleak place.
Definitely. We need the color of the arts and the people that are inspiring us with their inspirations, because I think it's contagious, right? When someone's
Yeah.
really excited about something, you
Yeah.
can't help but get that too.
Yeah. You know, and then the people who, you know, the people who've kind of felt like they've had to sell, um, you know, parts of themselves, you know, for cheap. You know, they look at they admire, they feel inspired by the people, you know, like us, who you just kind of go for it, you know. And I've had so many people, even I think like maybe a couple weeks ago, I had a friend of mine on a day where I was really feeling, I've got to be honest, I was feeling pretty, I don't, the S word was, I was feeling pretty crappy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was feeling pretty crappy the other day. And my friend randomly sends me this message, and she, you know, she has sort of a more traditional life and things like that. And I think as an artist, sometimes that lack of traditionality that sometimes comes with all the sacrifices you make to be you, you know, um like I was just feeling kind of crappy about it. And she has this more traditional life, and she was just like, you know, I have to tell you, she's like, I really just admire you. She's like, you just kind of go for it. You're just kind of balls against the wall, and you're just, and I've never seen you not be you, 100%,
Mhm.
whether that be, you know, a witch or an artist or a, you know, or a whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've not, I'm just like, I kind of, I think people perceive that I have this sort of like, you know, I don't give enough attitude. And I kind of do, as far as like, I can't allow people to tell me who to be. I make
Yeah.
that decision.
Yeah.
But you know, I also notice that as people watch me do that, it gives them permission also to adapt whatever that version is for themselves.
Yeah, completely. That makes, and sometimes it can go the opposite too, where you make people really uncomfortable because they're like, oh, she's so okay with herself. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like that, you know, because they're not comfortable with themselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I can't make people feel on I you know, I think I'm an art piece like every other art piece you would see in a museum or something like that, right? Sometimes you look at a painting, you're like, "Oh, that really that really inspires me. I'm going to go home and do X, Y, and Z," you know? Or, you know, or you look at one and you're like, "Oh, I feel the pain. I feel the this, I feel that, or I feel uncomfortable," but you feel something,
Exactly.
which is more than I can say for everything. You know what I'm saying? This is more than I can say for everyone. You know, at least you feel something. It being an artist is being the art piece as well, you know?
Yeah, and getting rid of that constant numbing that many of us do on a daily basis because we just get on that hamster wheel or we don't want to deal with whatever emotions and it's just a numbing effect. So yeah, completely agree with that. And talk a little bit about your daily spiritual work. You're a medium, an oracle, a witch. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I use witch because I think it's more of my rebelliousness. I've always been a little bit of a punk, so I kind of have this like, my soul is very punky, is what it is. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and so, but really, I've always been an intuitive since I was a kid, and and when I was 18, I rebelliously made my mother pay for a history witchcraft course in college. Um because because we were having a little beef because I was like, I'm not with Christian. Yeah, I have no problem with religion, anything religion people have. I don't care. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Way I respect all of it. In fact, I study theosophy and study the text, whether it be the Bhagavad Gita or the Torah or the Bible. Like I can usually recite them, better than most, but and
Yeah.
and have a deep appreciation for them too, But it's just not my thing to follow. I've never been a follower of anything,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Um, unless I had to be, because we know when you're younger, you have really not much of a choice. So, so yeah, I as my daily practice, I kind of gotten more into sort of spirituality and just kind of like I think it's more of a journey of learning to trust your own intuition, and I'm able to really help people because we are all connected. Um, by using my intuition to kind of help my fellow, brothers and sisters, if you will, Um, and so that's really more of the case. It's not anything like, too crazy. I guess on the kind of like witchy side, if you will, I really, really enjoy so art is play, magic is play, and I like the play of like spell work. I like the
Yeah.
play associated with that. There's something very uh it's something very like childlike. There's a childlike nature to really still engaging in magic even as an adult, you know mixing certain herbs together or lighting candles with an intention or any of that stuff. I really love the play of it, and I think it keeps me personally very centered and connected to myself and to my childhood self, because it's like as an adult you think that you constantly have to have this like the adult approach to everything, and it's like I'm like, no, there's
Yeah.
there's a power in that play, that
Yeah,
like
definitely. And it's just like a different way of expressing it. And if anything, you're not alone because you see how popular like Harry Potter is
yeah,
and now there's all these like Instagrams about witches and witches seem to be in right now, you know? So
yeah,
like I
exactly.
think that people there's like this mass awakening to that and people are still trying to figure out exactly what that means. But even just if it is what you said about like kind of rituals and doing things with intention like you would do with any religion.
But yeah, and then I think that I've had there's like so many. I mean, probably much longer conversation than we have time for. But like I've also like I was talking to my friend the other day, and I guess again in my own kind of rebellious nature or whatever, I kind of have this thing where even if you come to my house, like I have all of my things up. My herbs are out, my things are out, because I'm all like, well, nobody else is putting away their beliefs for me.
Yeah.
And I think that that's unfair to ask people. It's like, oh, well, that makes me uncomfortable. It's like, well, I can't make you uncomfortable. You can choose to be uncomfortable. And maybe in some ways, this isn't what you believe, but your beliefs are not my beliefs. And you're asking for something that's kind of beyond what you should be asking people, as far as putting themselves away, in
Yeah.
order to make your existence comfortable. No, absolutely not, you know?
Yeah, I like that. And talk a little bit about how your spiritual work ties into your creativity.
Well, I use the same. I actually did some research on this, and you actually use the same part of the brain. I could be wrong. I think it's like the left side of the brain, maybe. But I use the same side of the brain. So imagine that you are getting ready to paint something. Well, before you paint something, you usually have a vision of the thing that you are going to paint, unless someone's asking you to do it. It's like a commission or something. But you usually have a vision of the thing that you're going to create. Now, taking that same process and someone's asking me a question about like, their life, or asking me a question about, well, what do I see coming up and things like that. It's really the same process of being able to trust those visions. I see that vision in my mind's eye, much like I would see the same vision if I was getting ready to like I said, paint something, create a song or something like that. It's an influx of information coming from the same place.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that this has come up a lot in the creative world too about how people say it's almost like they're convening with the spirits or something like that when they create something. They're like, this was not totally me. Like I had some help with these words. I had some help with this painting. I don't know where it came from, but it was there.
I think there's something about being a creator, and especially in a creator that doesn't copy people, that comes up with you know, original ideas, whether it be original in the way that the things are constructed, the words are constructed, they haven't been constructed in that particular way before, or this composition has been made in this particular way before. There's something to be said about being that sort of vessel on this planet. There is something working through you, you know. Yeah, there's something working through you. There's some sort of channel that you're tapping into. I happen to be lucky enough to recognize that the authentic version of myself is being that medium, that vessel, that oracle, both in my creative life and my spiritual life as well.
And you touched on intuition. I mean, that's a big word right now. I feel like everyone's talking about intuition, and I feel like some people feel like they really aren't well connected to that. I mean, what's some advice you have for people reconnecting with their own intuition and, knowing, having the knowing, the all knowing, and not questioning that?
Yeah. Well, I think that first of all, if anybody's interested, they can always go to my my Instagram. I'm sure you put that up on the whatever thing that you have going.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if anyone's ever interested, I do teach people how to use their intuition. And typically how I do it is, for example, like let's say you're like, I want to learn how to use tarot cards. I usually have people throw the book away first. I'm like, throw the book away. You're going to look at this set of information, and you're going to receive whatever information is coming from there. The thing about intuition is that most of the time, most of us were taught growing up to not trust ourselves, and especially in the environment and climate that we're in, where everything is so polarized and you have to be here or there, or, believe in this or don't believe in that. It's one of those things where oftentimes this world in general is based off of, if you want to fit inside a structure, you can't trust yourself. You have to trust other people, the information that other people are giving you. And the uncomfortable thing about learning to trust your intuition is sometimes the intuition will tell you something that other people giving you that information is like, how do I explain this? That maybe your intuition might say something different than what other people are telling you,
Yeah. Yeah. And people you love and trust or
yeah.
respect, and that can be scary.
And that can be really scary. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's, you have to learn to trust what you're seeing. Like if I'm teaching people how to use their intuition, how to like maybe even remote view and things like that. It's like, you have to trust the vision that you're given. And it's going to feel scary at first, because you've never been in this place. You've never been in a point where you could really just kind of freely take this information and then just like run with it, but that's usually how I start people off. Take whatever information you're given. Don't judge it. Don't try to decipher it. Don't try to put your own meanings and spins on it. Just, what information are you getting? That's it.
And how do you tell the difference between intuition and your ego?
The ego always has a the ego wants to get paid for something. like the ego is always trying to get its fix. I feel it's like a drug addict. It's always trying to get its fix. Always trying to get its fix, and so sometimes it's genuinely, that sort of like, there's something really deep, and I can't tell you exactly where it is in the body, but like for me it's like right in my chest, like I feel something, whether it be like that, like, okay, time to go. That's happened before too. It's actually saved my life. I've been in situations where, like, my intuition was like, yo, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
but we're all having a good time right now. Yeah. No, it's time to go. I actually call my intuition my invisiposse. Like, that's my thing.
I like that. That's a good name for it.
But it's like, there's been moments where like, my intuition was like, yep, time to bounce. And I'm like, oh, and then I'll leave a place and then find out like 10, 15 minutes later, something went down. you know?
Yeah, like you said, that's that intuition, and I think we all have it, and a lot of times, especially for women, we want to be polite, so we ignore intuition. We're like, oh, we have to make other people comfortable, but even though my intuition is saying, oh, I shouldn't be alone in the elevator with this guy or whatever, it's like,
exactly.
I'm just gonna be polite to him.
Exactly. Well, and the whole, I think a lot of people could benefit from giving less Fs.
Yeah, definitely.
And just really working. My big work on this planet is to be authentic. And in my being authentic, then again, I then am the medicine, whatever that medicine may be. It's like you think of the archetypes of like Greek gods and things like that. They all had their thing, this is the goddess of war. This is the god of, harvest. This is this, it's like, but they had to kind of be really clear about who they were. And I have this phrase that I always use, which is there's no greater power than the power of knowing exactly who you are.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's so true. And how would you define creativity in your own words?
Oy vey. How would I define creativity in my own words? Creating is life. It's just life. Creating is life. I think that you're engaging with life itself.
I like that. Engaging with life itself. That's really a nice way to put it.
Yeah. I really can't think of, I have such a reverence for it. The process of it, the beauty of it, and the beauty including kind of like all spectrums of emotions and colors and feelings and things like that I think, yeah, it's just creativity is life itself. Every day you create something, and we're actually, whether or not you actually practice manifestation, we are all creative beings. We're all creating a certain character or reality, and we can also change it at any time if people understood that they had that power to do so. But
yeah,
but creativity is life itself.
I think that's a great note to end on. And where can people connect with you and learn more about your work and work with you?
Okay. So, on Instagram, I have several Instagrams, y'all, but, but the main ones, if you want to connect with my music, you can go to Carbon Block on Instagram, CRBONBLOC. And you'll see, a couple things there. You'll see my Spotify link, also an interview I did with Canvas, so that's there. And then if you want to work with me spiritually, whether it be getting a reading, mediumship work, I also help you with, you have ghosts in your house, since that's a whole different conversation. But I'm at Witch Ministries on Instagram or TikTok, which is kind of a big platform place. It's Witch Ministries Official, because people tried to take my page. So there's
no. Already.
Well, already I blew up there like relatively decently. Like I got like 4,600 followers, I think, on TikTok, and I was like, whoa.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I imagine in Paris there's a lot of people who need help with their ghosts in their apartments.
Listen, I got you. I got you. I think that's something that, I've just dealt with a lot of ghosts growing up, and I know we can't get into that, but I did. And so I can help you. Please believe.
Oh man, that's a whole other podcast episode. I love it. Well, thanks so much for chatting with me today. And I'll share all of that in the show notes so we can connect with you and learn more.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.